In Japan, mornings often begin not with sugary cereal or coffee, but with a bowl of warm miso soup. For elders, this fermented broth is both comfort and quiet protection for their bodies. Fermented foods have been part of Japanese life for centuries, woven into traditions rather than treated as health fads. They appear in small portions at nearly every meal: pickled vegetables, natto, or a spoonful of miso. These foods do more than flavor the meal. They protect the body from within. By reducing inflammation and supporting digestion, they make movement in later years far less painful. Not all Japanese elders are free from health problems, but many still walk to markets and cook their own food well past 80. What sustains them is not luxury or miracle cures, but small daily habits that compound over decades. Imagine waking up at 70 or 80 without the sharp sting in your knees as you stand. For many Japanese elders, fermented foods are among the hidden allies behind that relief. Modern science has confirmed what Japanese culture always believed. Healthy gut bacteria from fermented foods calm inflammation, which in turn protects joints from swelling and stiffness. This connection is not widely known in the West, where fermented foods are often limited to yogurt or occasional kombucha. But in Japan, they are a daily ritual, taken seriously as part of aging well. Fermented foods don't erase wrinkles or stop time. Instead, they preserve something far more precious: the ability to move with less pain, to cook, to walk, to remain independent. In this video, we'll uncover why Japanese elders eat these foods every day. We'll also explore the science, the culture, and the practical ways you can bring these traditions into your own kitchen. Because protecting your joints after 70 doesn't always require pills or expensive treatments. Sometimes it begins with the simplest items already on your plate. The world of Japanese fermented foods. Have you ever wondered why something as simple as rotten beans is considered a superfood in Japan? What looks unappealing at first sight may actually be one of the keys to walking pain-free after 70. Fermentation in Japan is not an accident. It's an art perfected over centuries. From miso to pickles, every region developed its own methods to preserve food and enhance flavor. Take miso, for example, the fermented soybean paste that forms the base of soups. It carries deep umami flavor, but more importantly, it delivers probiotics and nutrients with every spoon. Natto, on the other hand, divides opinions even in Japan. Its sticky texture and strong smell make it unusual for Western taste buds, yet its benefits are undeniable. Rich in vitamin K2, natto helps calcium reach the bones instead of hardening arteries. For elders, this translates into stronger bones and joints that withstand decades of use. Tsukemono, Japanese pickled vegetables, are another daily staple. They add color, crunch, and beneficial bacteria to simple rice-based meals. These pickles were never about luxury. They were survival foods for winters and poor harvests. Yet, they became cultural icons of balance and health, still enjoyed at breakfast today. Shoyu, or soy sauce, also comes from fermentation. The traditional brewing process takes months, producing a complex liquid rich in umami and enzymes. Even amazake, a sweet rice drink, is born from fermentation. It is often called drinkable IV in Japan, once used to restore energy during hot summers. In Japanese homes, these foods are not eaten because they are trendy. They are daily habits, quietly reinforcing health across generations. For Western eyes, this variety can seem overwhelming. But for Japanese elders, it is simply breakfast, lunch, and dinner, normal and expected. These foods also became part of festivals and rituals. Serving miso soup or pickled plums was a way of showing care and tradition. Children in Japan grow up tasting these strong flavors from an early age. By the time they are elders, miso and pickles are not medicine. They are comfort. For outsiders, the first encounter can be surprising. Natto's sticky threads or the salty bite of pickles often shock Western taste buds. But for Japanese elders, these flavors are reminders of home. Every bite carries both nourishment and memory. While the West sees fermentation mostly in yogurt or occasional sauerkraut, Japan developed dozens of variations. Each one brings its own benefits, textures, and cultural meaning. This difference shapes daily life. For Japanese seniors, fermented foods are not supplements or trends. They are routine. The first encounter with natto often surprises newcomers. Its sticky threads and earthy aroma can feel strange, even unappealing. But for Japanese children, these flavors are introduced early, so they grow into familiarity. By adulthood, natto is not unusual. It is simply breakfast. Miso, too, carries a deep umami taste that feels comforting after decades of daily use. For elders, even the smell of miso soup boiling is a reminder of family and health. Western taste buds, however, are often trained differently. Sweet cereals and mild flavors make fermented foods feel intense by comparison. In the West, fermented foods are usually limited to yogurt, cheese, or occasional sauerkraut. They are treated as optional, not as daily essentials. In Japan, fermentation shaped the core of the diet. Miso soup at breakfast, pickles with rice, and natto in the morning bowl are everyday choices. This daily repetition creates more than just taste preferences. It builds a microbiome trained to handle inflammation and digestion over decades. For Western seniors, adopting these foods may take time, but even small daily portions can create benefits similar to those seen in Japan. So while cultures differ, the lesson is the same. Fermented foods, taken consistently, shape health far beyond taste. And this is where tradition meets science. Because beyond flavor and history, modern research explains exactly why these foods protect aging joints. The science of fermentation in joints. What does your gut have to do with your knees? For many people, the answer feels surprising, but the two are deeply connected. Inside the gut lives trillions of bacteria, forming what scientists call the microbiome. When balanced, this invisible community protects against inflammation throughout the body. Inflammation is the silent root of most joint pain. It causes swelling, stiffness, and gradual breakdown of cartilage. Fermented foods directly support the microbiome by introducing live probiotics. These beneficial microbes crowd out harmful bacteria and reduce the triggers of inflammation. When inflammation is lowered, joints move more freely. This means less morning stiffness, easier walking, and fewer aches after daily activities. Science confirms this connection. A study in the Journal of Nutrition found that daily fermented soy consumption reduced markers of inflammation in older adults. Natto, in particular, offers a nutrient called vitamin K2. This vitamin helps guide calcium into bones, preventing it from damaging arteries or soft tissues. For seniors, this means stronger bones and healthier joints. It also lowers the risk of osteoporosis, a condition that makes bones fragile with age. Miso contributes in a different way. Its fermentation process creates enzymes that support digestion and reduce overall inflammation. Pickled vegetables, or tsukemono, bring fiber and beneficial bacteria together. This combination feeds the gut and keeps bowel movements regular, which further supports systemic health. Doctors in Japan often recommend fermented foods as part of daily diets for elders. Not as prescriptions, but as natural allies against the slow wear of aging. Researchers now speak of the gut-joint axis, showing how digestive health shapes mobility. When the gut is balanced, joints experience less swelling and pain. On the other hand, when harmful bacteria dominate, inflammation spreads like wildfire. This chronic low-grade inflammation is often why seniors feel stiff even without injury. Fermented foods act as daily firefighters against this internal inflammation. They cool the flames before they damage cartilage or ligaments. Science also shows that fermentation increases the bioavailability of nutrients. This means minerals like magnesium and calcium are easier for the body to absorb. For elders, that translates into stronger muscles, better bone density, and more resilient joints. It's not about eating more food, but about extracting more from the same meals. Even fermented rice drinks like amazake contain compounds that reduce fatigue. This helps seniors recover faster after physical activity or long walks. Western medicine often focuses on treating pain once it appears. Japanese tradition, by contrast, focuses on preventing pain before it takes hold. This does not mean fermented foods are miracle cures, but they are powerful daily habits that support long-term mobility in a natural way. By combining culture and science, the message becomes clear. Fermentation is not just about taste, It's about protecting independence after 70. And this leads us to real people whose lives reflect these choices. Stories of Japanese elders show how these foods have shaped decades of resilience. Stories from Japan's elders. What does it really look like when elders eat fermented foods every day? The answers are found not in studies, but in the lives of ordinary Japanese seniors. Take Haruko, an 84-year-old woman from Nagano. Every morning, she stirs miso into hot broth before tending her small garden. For her, miso soup is not medicine, but comfort. She says the warmth helps her joints loosen before she begins the day. In Okinawa, 90-year-old Masato still enjoys natto with his rice. He laughs when visitors complain about the smell, saying, "It keeps me strong." Natto's vitamin K2 has quietly supported his bones for decades. That's why he can still walk to the market without needing a cane. Pickles are another story of resilience. Elders like Keiko, 88, still prepare tsukemono in ceramic jars every autumn. She explains that tsukemono remind her of winters when fresh vegetables were scarce. Now they are symbols of health and memories passed down to grandchildren. Fermented foods in these stories are never eaten in large amounts. Instead, they appear in small, steady portions, a spoonful here, a bite there. This steady rhythm is what makes the difference over decades. Consistency, not excess, is the hidden habit behind Japanese longevity. In the mountains of Nagano, elders often say, "Miso keeps us warm in winter." This phrase reflects not just flavor, but generations of survival through harsh seasons. Elders like Taro, 91, still climb the small hill to visit neighbors. He attributes his stamina to a daily bowl of rice, miso, and pickled daikon. In Okinawa, fermented foods appear alongside fresh vegetables and sweet potatoes. This balanced plate has allowed many residents to live past 100 while staying active. Eiko, 87, still kneads miso paste by hand with her daughter. She insists that homemade miso tastes better and feels more nourishing. For her, this ritual is about more than food. It's a moment of connection across generations, binding family through tradition. Even those who struggle with age-related aches find relief in these habits. Some say a warm bowl of fermented soup in the morning makes it easier to move. The lesson from these elders is not perfection or strict diets. It is the power of small, consistent habits repeated across decades. These stories are windows into how tradition becomes health. They remind us that longevity is built on ordinary meals, not extraordinary measures. And while culture provides the roots, adaptation is possible anywhere. That's why our next step is learning how to bring these habits into Western homes. How you can adapt this in the West. Before we dive into how you can bring these Japanese traditions into your own home, I want to share a special resource. If you'd like a complete guide to the foods, recipes, and habits of Japanese centenarians, you'll find it in my book, The Japanese Anti-Inflammatory Diet After 60. It's designed to help you protect your gut, joints, and energy with practical steps you can apply every day. You don't need to live in Japan to benefit from the wisdom of fermented foods. Even if miso or natto are hard to find, there are accessible alternatives that work in similar ways. Miso soup may be rare in some towns, but a warm cup of bone broth with added sauerkraut juice or kefir can deliver similar gut benefits. If natto isn't available, don't worry. Fermented soy is powerful, but you can also get vitamin K2 from aged cheeses like Gouda or Brie. Pickled vegetables may seem exotic when called tsukemono, but raw sauerkraut, dill pickles, or kimchi can serve the same purpose in the West. Even kefir, widely sold in supermarkets, can take the place of amazake. It offers probiotics and a refreshing taste that many seniors find easier to digest than milk. The secret is not the specific food, but the habit of adding small portions daily. 1 or 2 spoonfuls is enough to begin shifting gut health toward balance. Consistency is more important than perfection. Even if you rotate between yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, or cheese, your microbiome will still benefit. But there are a few cautions to remember. Many commercial pickles or yogurts are pasteurized, which kills live cultures. Always look for labels that say live cultures, raw, or unpasteurized. These ensure the probiotics are still active and effective. Another caution is sodium. Fermented foods can be salty, so balance them with fresh vegetables and plenty of water. If you take blood thinners, check with your doctor before eating large amounts of vitamin K2-rich foods. This is especially true for natto or aged cheeses. The best strategy is to start small. Add one new fermented food to your meals and stick with it until it feels natural. Once the habit forms, you can experiment with variety. Your joints and digestion will thank you for the steady support. By adapting these foods to what's available locally, you remove barriers. The goal is not to copy Japan exactly, but to embrace the principle of daily fermentation. And once this principle is clear, we can look beyond joints. Fermented foods offer energy, better digestion, and even mental clarity, the topic of our next section. Fermented foods are often praised for helping with mobility, but their benefits go far beyond the joints. They influence nearly every system of the body, from digestion to immunity. The first and most obvious effect is on digestion. Live bacteria in fermented foods break down fiber and make nutrients easier to absorb. This means fewer problems with constipation, a common struggle for many seniors. Regular digestion not only improves comfort, but also reduces pressure on the entire body. Another key benefit is energy. By reducing inflammation and improving nutrient absorption, fermented foods give the body more usable fuel. Elders often describe feeling lighter or more awake after including these foods daily. This is because the gut communicates directly with the brain through the vagus nerve. This gut-brain connection also influences mood. Studies show probiotics can lower anxiety and support mental clarity in older adults. It's not about dramatic changes overnight. Instead, steady use of fermented foods gently shifts mood and energy towards stability. The immune system also benefits. Healthy gut bacteria act like guards, blocking pathogens before they spread. For seniors, this translates into fewer infections and faster recovery from colds. Even small daily portions can strengthen these defenses over time. Another overlooked benefit is resilience against fatigue. By improving nutrient absorption, fermented foods help seniors feel less drained after daily tasks. This vitality makes a difference in maintaining independence. Cooking, gardening, or shopping become less of a burden when the body feels supported from within. Fermented foods also play a role in heart health. Probiotics may lower cholesterol and blood pressure, protecting arteries from long-term damage. For women after 60, they can also support bone density. Calcium absorption is improved, and vitamin K2 helps guide minerals to where they're needed most. Better bones and stronger joints mean fewer falls, and fewer falls mean greater confidence moving through everyday life. Mental clarity is another hidden advantage. A balanced gut can sharpen focus and memory, making conversations and reading more enjoyable. Even sleep may improve. Studies suggest that probiotics influence neurotransmitters that help regulate rest and relaxation. These combined effects create what Japanese elders often describe as lightness. It is the feeling of being able to move, think, and live without constant struggle. This is why fermented foods are not only about joints. They are about preserving the ability to live life fully, with dignity and joy. And with that, we've seen how these foods go far beyond fighting inflammation. They support digestion, energy, mood, bones, and even sleep, all pillars of healthy aging. Japanese elders remind us that health is not built in hospitals, but at the table. Their quiet commitment to fermented foods shows how small habits protect the body over decades. These foods are not miracles, yet their impact feels remarkable. They reduce inflammation, ease digestion, support bones, sharpen the mind, and preserve independence. For those over 60, the lesson is clear. Health comes not from sudden changes, but from steady choices made every day. You don't need to copy Japan exactly. Even accessible foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, or aged cheese can provide similar protection. So ask yourself, what small portion could you add to your plate today? Because in the end, longevity is not about living forever. It's about moving freely and living fully, no matter your age.